His mother said his wife was not good enough, so she went to the village to find a better one. But what she brought back was not a woman. It was not human. And from the day she entered that house, love died, peace vanished, and one innocent woman's life turned into a living nightmare. This is not just a story about marriage. It is a story about jealousy, endurance, and the price of inviting evil into your own home. Nora did not meet Eli in a market or at a festival. She met him on a dusty road, on a day her life felt heavier than usual. She was returning from her small tailoring shop when she saw him struggling to push a broken-down motorcycle. He looked tired, angry, and embarrassed. Without thinking, she walked up to him and asked if he needed help. Eli looked at her, surprised, then laughed and said, "Unless you can lift a motorcycle, I don't think so." But her smile stayed, and somehow her calm made him feel less frustrated. That was how they started talking. Eli came back the next day, then the next. Soon, he began to find reasons to pass by her shop. They talked about everything: life, dreams, and the kind of home they wanted to build one day. Eli was not rich, but he was hardworking. Nora was not from a powerful family, but she was kind and steady. What they shared felt simple and real. When Eli told his mother about Nora, her reaction was cold. "So this is the girl you want to marry?" Mama Eli asked after seeing Nora for the first time. She looked Nora from head to toe like someone inspecting a goat in the market. "Is she the best you could find?" Nora greeted her politely, but Mama Eli did not answer. Later that night, she told her son, "This girl is not for you. She has nothing, no connections, no strong family. You can do better." Eli tried to explain, but his mother would not listen. "I love her," he said. "That should be enough." Mama Eli laughed without humor. "Love does not build a future." But Eli did not change his mind. Against his mother's wishes, he married Nora in a small, quiet wedding. Mama Eli did not attend. People whispered, but Nora held her head high. She believed love would be enough to win any heart. For the first few months, their home was full of peace. They laughed easily, they prayed together, they planned their future with hope. Even when money was tight, they found joy in small things. Then Mama Eli came to stay with them. She said she was only visiting, but from the first day she made it clear that the house was not Nora's. She complained about Nora's cooking, her cleaning, her voice, even the way she walked. If Nora kept quiet, she was called proud. If she spoke, she was called disrespectful. Eli noticed, but he always said, "She is my mother. Please understand her." Nora tried. She truly did. One evening, after Nora served dinner, Mama Eli pushed the plate away. "This is what you feed my son?" she said loudly. "If I knew this was the kind of wife you would bring, I would have stopped you." Nora's hands shook, but she said nothing. Later that night, Nora cried quietly in bed. Eli held her, confused and torn. "Please endure," he whispered. "She will change." But Mama Eli sat alone in the other room, her face hard with decision. "This girl will not stay in my son's life," she said to herself. "I will fix this mistake myself." And for the first time since Nora entered that house, a plan was born, one that would soon turn their love into a battlefield. Mama Eli did not change. If anything, she became worse. Every morning she found a new reason to complain. If Nora woke up early to clean, she was told she was making noise. If she woke up late, she was called lazy. If the food was sweet, it was too much salt. If it was not, it was tasteless. There was no winning. Nora tried to ignore the words, but some days they sank deep into her chest and stayed there. Eli noticed, but he stood in the middle like a man afraid to choose a side. "She is old," he would say. "Please just manage her." One afternoon, Nora went to the market and came back to find Mama Eli sitting in the living room with her bags opened. "What are you doing?" Nora asked gently. "I am arranging my son's house properly," Mama Eli replied. "This place has been disorganized since you entered it." Nora watched as her clothes were moved to one small corner of the room, while Eli's things were given more space. That night she told Eli, "Your mother does not want me here." Eli sighed. "You are imagining it." The words hurt more than any insult. Days turned into weeks, and the tension in the house grew thick. Mama Eli started whispering to Eli when Nora was not around. When Eli came back from work, his mood was always dark. One evening he asked suddenly, "Why do you always answer my mother back?" Nora looked at him in shock. "When have I ever done that?" "She says you are rude to her when I'm not home." Nora felt something break inside her. So you believe her? Eli did not answer. That night, Nora did not sleep. Mama Eli smiled quietly when she saw the space growing between them. But her anger did not stop there. She started telling neighbors that Nora was lazy, stubborn, and not a good wife. Some began to look at Nora differently. Some stopped greeting her warmly. One morning, Mama Eli said openly, "In our family, we don't keep women that cannot bring peace." Nora's hands were shaking as she served breakfast. "Are you saying I am the problem?" she asked. Mama Eli stood up. "If the shoe fits, wear it." Eli said nothing. That silence was louder than shouting. That afternoon, Nora went to visit her friend, trying to breathe. When she came back, she heard Mama Eli and Eli arguing inside. "You rushed into this marriage," Mama Eli was saying. "You made a mistake." "She is my wife," Eli replied weakly, "and she will be the reason your life will never move forward." Nora stood outside, unable to enter. That night, Mama Eli made a phone call in a low voice. Nora heard only parts of it. "Yes, the village. I will come myself. She is the one I told you about." When she ended the call, she noticed Nora standing behind her. They looked at each other for a long moment. Something cold passed through Mama Eli's eyes. Nora felt it, a strange fear she could not explain. Later, Eli told Nora, "My mother says you should try harder to please her." Nora looked at him, tears in her eyes. "How much more should I break myself?" Eli had no answer. That night, Nora sat alone on the bed, holding her knees to her chest. For the first time since she married for love, she wondered if love alone was enough to keep her in that house. Mama Eli left the house early in the morning without telling anyone where she was going. When Nora asked, she only said, "I am going to settle an important matter." Eli did not ask questions. He had learned not to. The journey took Mama Eli almost the whole day. She went far, past the busy roads and noisy towns, into a quiet village near the forest, the kind of place where people spoke in low voices and strangers were noticed immediately. She did not come to greet anyone. She went straight to a small compound at the edge of the village. An old woman sat outside peeling cassava. When she saw Mama Eli, she did not look surprised. "You have come," the old woman said. "Yes," Mama Eli replied. "Where is the girl?" The old woman pointed to a hut behind the compound. "She is inside. But remember what I told you. Some things look like solutions but come with a price." Mama Eli did not respond. She walked toward the hut. Inside, a young woman sat on a low stool, combing her long, pale hair. Her skin was strangely light, almost white, and her eyes were calm in a way that made Mama Eli uncomfortable. She looked up and smiled. "You are late," the girl said. Mama Eli frowned. "You know why I am here?" The girl stood up slowly. "You want a woman for your son, a better woman, one who will take the place of the one you hate." Mama Eli felt a small fear, but she pushed it away. "Yes, and you are the one." The girl smiled wider. "My name is Mira." They sat down to talk. Mira spoke gently. She said she had no family. She said she wanted a better life. She said she would make Eli forget any other woman. "You will not regret this," she said calmly. Mama Eli felt relieved. This was exactly what she wanted to hear. But as she stood to leave, she asked, "Why do people avoid your house?" Mira looked at her for a moment, then said, "People fear what they don't understand." Mama Eli did not ask more questions. Before leaving, the old woman caught her outside. "You are bringing trouble to your house," the old woman warned. Mama Eli's face hardened. "I am bringing peace." She left the village before sunset. When she returned home with Mira that evening, Nora was in the kitchen. She heard the door and came out. She froze. The girl standing beside Mama Eli was beautiful in a strange way. Her skin was pale. Her eyes were sharp and quiet. "This is Mira," Mama Eli said. "She will be staying with us." Eli came out and greeted them. When his eyes met Mira's, something changed in his face. He could not explain it, but his heart began to beat faster. "Welcome," he said. Mira smiled at him. "Thank you." From that moment, Nora felt like a stranger in her own home. At dinner, Mama Eli served Mira first. She laughed with her. She asked about her journey. She did not look at Nora once. Eli kept glancing at Mira, then at Nora, as if confused by his own thoughts. That night, Nora could not sleep. The air in the house felt heavy. She heard Mama Eli and Mira talking in low voices in the other room, but she could not hear the words. When she finally closed her eyes, she dreamed of someone standing in her room, watching her. She woke up sweating. In the other room, Mira lay awake, smiling in the dark. Mira did not behave like a visitor. From her first full day in the house, she moved as if the place already belonged to her. She woke up late and came out of the room calmly, yet Mama Eli rushed to serve her breakfast. "Did you sleep well, my daughter?" Mama Eli asked. Nora stood in the kitchen, watching in silence. When Eli came out, his eyes went first to Mira, without him even noticing. He greeted Nora after, like someone remembering something he almost forgot. That small thing hurt more than Nora expected. Throughout the day, Mama Eli praised everything Mira did. "She is quiet, she is respectful, she knows how to carry herself," she kept saying, loud enough for Nora to hear. Mira hardly spoke to Nora. When she did, her words were soft but cold. "Thank you for letting me stay," she said once, with a smile that did not reach her eyes. At night, Nora's sleep became troubled. She kept waking up from strange dreams. In one, she saw herself standing outside her own house while someone else closed the door from inside. She started feeling tired all the time. Eli began to change too. He started finding fault in things that never bothered him before. "Why is the house always noisy?" he asked one evening. Nora looked around in surprise. "It's quiet." He said nothing, but his face stayed hard. One afternoon, Nora returned from the market and found her cooking pot moved. "Mama, did you see my pot?" she asked Mama Eli. Mira answered from the room. "I moved it. It was in my way." Nora stared at her. "Your way? In the kitchen?" Mira looked at her calmly. "Yes." Mama Eli cut in. "Don't start trouble. She is a guest." But Nora was no longer treated like the owner of the house. Small things began to happen. Plates broke by themselves. Food went bad quickly. The house always felt cold, even in the heat. One evening, Eli suddenly shouted at Nora, "You are turning my mother against me." Nora looked at him in shock. "What are you saying?" "She said you complain about me, that you poison her mind against me." Nora's voice broke. "I have never said that." Eli looked confused, then angry. "Stop lying." Nora realized something was wrong, but she did not know what. That night, she heard soft footsteps in the house. She opened her eyes and saw someone standing near the door. "Mira?" she whispered. The figure did not answer. When she sat up, the room was empty. In the morning, she found her wedding photo turned face down on the table. She picked it up slowly and felt her chest tighten. Eli stopped eating her food. Mama Eli said, "Maybe your cooking no longer agrees with him." Mira began to sit closer to Eli, laugh softly with him, and bring him water. Nora watched her marriage slowly slipping from her hands. One afternoon, she could not hold it anymore. "Why are you doing this to me?" she asked Eli. Eli looked at her with eyes she did not recognize. "Doing what?" "You are pushing me away." He was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "Maybe you have changed." That was when Nora knew she was fighting something she could not see. That night, she knelt by her bed and cried. In the other room, Mama Eli slept peacefully. And in her room, Mira sat on the bed, staring at the wall, smiling without joy. Nora woke up one morning and realized she had become a stranger in her own home. No one asked her what she wanted anymore. No one waited for her at the table. Some days she ate alone in the kitchen after everyone had finished. Eli now spent most of his time with Mira and his mother. When he came home, his face was always tired and hard. When Nora tried to talk to him, he said, "Not now." Mama Eli watched everything with quiet satisfaction. One afternoon, Eli came back from work and found Nora sitting in the living room. "We need to talk," he said. Nora's heart jumped. "Yes." "My mother says this house has no peace because of you." Nora felt dizzy. "Because of me?" "She says you fight too much. You complain too much. You don't respect her." Nora's eyes filled with tears. "That is not true. You know it." Eli looked away. "I don't know anything anymore." That was the day he told her to move into the small room at the back of the house. "Just for some time," he said. "Things will calm down." Nora packed her things in silence. From that day, she was no longer treated like a wife. She washed everyone's clothes, she cooked, she cleaned. She was the first to wake and the last to sleep. but she was not thanked. Mira now sat in the living room like the queen of the house. Mama Eli began to introduce her to visitors as, "She is like a daughter to me." Sometimes Nora heard them laughing together. Sometimes she heard her own name spoken in low, bitter voices. One evening, Mama Eli called Eli in front of Nora. "My son, you made a mistake," she said. "Some women are only good for suffering, not for building a home." Nora's chest hurt. "Mama, what have I done?" Mama Eli looked at her. "You brought bad luck." Eli said nothing. Later that night, Nora went to Eli's room. "Please," she said, "if you don't love me again, just tell me." Eli sat on the bed and did not look at her. "I am tired." "Tired of me? I don't know what I feel." That was worse than hatred. Days later, Eli told her, "My mother thinks it is better if you go and stay with your people for some time." Nora's knees almost gave way. "You want to send me away?" "It's just for peace," he said. "Is there no peace with me here?" He did not answer. That night, Nora cried until her eyes burned. She remembered how they started, how he used to hold her hands, how he used to call her his blessing. Now she felt like a burden. She went to Mama Eli the next morning. "Mama, I beg you, if I have offended you, forgive me." Mama Eli looked at her coldly. "I did not ask you to marry my son." That was the day something inside Nora died. She stopped begging. She stopped explaining. She only prayed. One evening, as she returned from the stream, she saw Eli and Mira sitting close together, talking quietly. When they noticed her, they moved apart. Nora said nothing. She just walked into her small room and locked the door. She sat on the floor and whispered, "God, if you don't help me, I will not survive this." And for the first time, the house felt like it had completely rejected her. The change did not come slowly. It came like a storm. First, Mama Eli started complaining of headaches that would not go away. She said her dreams were full of shouting and fire. Some mornings she woke up angry for no reason and shouted at everyone in the house. Then Eli began to fall sick. He would return from work and sit quietly, staring at nothing. Some days he could not eat. Other days he shouted at Nora for small things, and later could not remember why he was angry. The house that was once noisy with laughter became quiet and heavy. Mira, however, was always calm. She woke up smiling. She ate well. She slept peacefully. Nora noticed this, and fear began to grow in her heart. One morning, a neighbor came and asked Mama Eli, "Why does your house feel cold even in the sun?" Mama Eli laughed it off, but that night she did not sleep. Plates began to fall and break without anyone touching them. Doors opened by themselves. Sometimes Nora heard someone calling her name when no one was there. She told Eli, but he said, "You are imagining things." One night, Eli woke up shouting, saying someone was pressing his chest. Nora ran to his side and prayed for him until he slept again. In the morning, Mama Eli said, "Maybe this house needs prayers." But she did not look at Mira when she said it. Nora started to grow thin. She was always tired, even when she rested. Sometimes her hands shook when she tried to cook. One evening, she nearly collapsed in the kitchen. Mira caught her. "Be careful," she said softly, holding her arm. Nora looked into her eyes and felt a strange cold pass through her body. She pulled her hand away. That same night, Mama Eli had a dream that made her scream. She saw herself standing in a river, and someone was pulling her inside. She woke up shaking. Eli's business began to fail. Money that used to come in stopped coming. Customers stopped calling. Nothing worked. The house started to smell strange sometimes, like something burning. Nora began to pray quietly every night. She knew something was wrong, and she knew it was not ordinary. One afternoon, Mama Eli suddenly shouted at Mira, "Why is everything going wrong since you came here?" The room went silent. Mira looked at her slowly. "Are you blaming me?" Mama Eli did not answer. Eli came in and said, "Why are you shouting?" Mama Eli looked confused. "I don't know." That night, Nora heard someone crying in the house. She followed the sound and found Mama Eli sitting on the floor in the living room, shaking. "I am afraid," she whispered. "Something is wrong in this house." Nora wanted to speak, but she kept quiet. Later, as Nora lay in her small room, She heard soft laughter from Mira's room. She sat up in bed. The laughter stopped. The house went quiet again. Nora held her chest and whispered, "God, please don't let me die in this place." Outside her door, something moved, but when she opened it, there was nobody there. Nora could no longer pretend that what was happening in the house was normal. She was getting weaker every day. Some mornings, she woke up feeling like she had not slept at all. Eli barely spoke to her anymore. Mama Eli moved around the house like someone carrying a heavy secret. One afternoon, Nora went to the stream to fetch water. As she was returning, she saw an old woman sitting under a mango tree near the road. The woman was staring at her like she had been waiting. "Come here, my daughter," the woman said. Nora wanted to walk past, but something in the woman's voice stopped her. When she got closer, the woman said, "You are carrying too much pain for one person." Nora felt her eyes fill with tears. "You don't even know me." The woman nodded. "But I know what is following you." They sat on a low stone. The woman introduced herself as Old Woman Dinta. She looked at Nora carefully, then asked, "Since when did a white shadow enter your house?" Nora's heart jumped. "How do you know?" Old Woman Dinta sighed. "Because your spirit is crying." Nora told her everything. The marriage, the hatred, Mira, the sickness, the fear. When she finished, the old woman was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "That girl in your house is not human." Nora felt cold. "What do you mean?" "She was sent, not by people like you, by powers that don't sleep." Nora wanted to laugh, but nothing came out. "She feeds on homes," the old woman continued. "She brings confusion first, then sickness, then loss." Nora whispered, "So I am not mad." "You are not." Nora held her hands tightly. "What should I do? Should I run away?" Old Woman Dinta shook her head. "If you run, you lose everything." Nora felt tears fall. "Then I will die there." The old woman looked at her. "Not if you stand." She took Nora's hand and said, "You must pray. You must not fight with anger. You must not leave your place." Nora nodded slowly. Before she left, the old woman added, "Do not let her touch your food again, and do not sleep without praying." When Nora returned home, the house was quiet. She went to the kitchen and found Mira there, stirring soup. Nora froze. Mira looked at her and smiled. "You're back early." Nora said nothing and walked away. That night she did not eat. Eli did not notice. Mama Eli did not ask. Later, Nora heard Mira coughing in her room, then laughing softly. Nora sat on her bed and prayed until her voice became weak. In the middle of the night, she felt someone sit on her bed. She opened her eyes and saw nothing, but her body could not move. She tried to speak, but her mouth would not open. Then the pressure left. She sat up, shaking. In the morning, Mama Eli came to her room. "I dreamed that someone was standing beside your bed," she said. Nora looked at her. They both went silent. For the first time, Mama Eli's eyes were full of fear, and Nora knew the battle was no longer just about her marriage. The day passed with a strange silence in the house. No one argued, no one laughed. Even Mira spoke less than usual. Nora stayed in her small room praying quietly. She remembered every word Old Woman Dinta had told her. She did not touch the food. She did not answer Mira when she was called. By evening, Eli came home looking tired and angry. "I don't know what is happening to my life," he said, throwing his bag on the floor. "Everything is failing." Mama Eli sat in the living room, holding her head. This house is no longer right. Mira watched them quietly. At night, the power went off. Darkness filled the house. Mama Eli lit a candle. The small light made the room look strange. Suddenly, Eli stood up and shouted, "Who turned off the power?" No one answered. The candle went out by itself. Mama Eli screamed. The door slammed shut. Nora ran out of her room. "What is happening?" she cried. Then they heard laughter, not loud, not human. Mira was standing in the middle of the room. Her face looked different. Her eyes were no longer normal. "You've finally noticed," she said. Mama Eli fell to her knees. "What have I brought into my house?" Eli tried to move, but his legs would not obey him. Nora began to pray loudly. Mira turned slowly toward her. "You should have left when you had the chance." The room became cold. The candle lit again by itself. Mira's voice changed. I was sent because this house was weak, because love was not protected. She looked at Mama Eli. You invited me. Mama Eli cried. I only wanted her gone. Mira laughed. Now you want me gone? The walls began to shake. Eli fell to the floor, holding his head. Nora stood in front of him, praying and crying. Stop! Mama Eli shouted. Stop! Please! Mira looked at her. It is too late to beg. Nora's voice became stronger. She called on God again and again. Suddenly, Mira screamed. She held her head and staggered backward. Enough, a loud voice said. The room went still. Mira fell to the floor. She began to speak in a voice that was not hers. I did not come for her, she said, pointing at Nora. I came because I was invited. Mama Eli covered her face. Mira stood up slowly, her face twisted with anger. You think you have won? She hissed. Then she laughed again and walked back to her room. The power came back. The house became quiet. Eli sat up slowly, breathing hard. He looked at Nora like he was seeing her for the first time in a long while. Mama Eli did not speak. No one slept that night, and the house was no longer the same. Morning came, but the fear of the night did not leave. Mama Eli sat in the living room without speaking. Eli walked around the house like a man who had just woken from a bad dream. Nora moved quietly, watching everyone. Mira did not come out of her room. By afternoon, the smell returned. That strange, burning smell. Nora remembered old woman Dinta's words and went out. She did not tell anyone where she was going. When she reached the mango tree, the old woman was there, as if she had been waiting. She has shown herself, old woman Dinta said before Nora could speak. Nora nodded. They all saw. The old woman closed her eyes. Then she cannot stay much longer. They returned together. When they entered the house, the air was heavy. Mira's door was closed. Old woman Dinta stood in the middle of the living room and said loudly, You have no right here. The door opened slowly. Mira came out smiling. So you are the one, she said. Old woman Dinta did not answer. She began to pray. Mira laughed and shouted, This house was given to me. Mama Eli fell to her knees. I did not know. That is why you are guilty, Mira replied. The windows shook. Eli tried to move but could not. Nora stood beside old woman Dinta and prayed. Mira screamed in anger. You will not chase me out. The old woman's voice became strong. You were invited by sin, and you will leave by truth. Mira began to change. Her face twisted. Her voice became many voices. The house shook again. Then suddenly everything stopped. Mira fell to the floor. She started to cry. I am tired, she said softly. This place is no longer sweet. Old woman Dinta said, Go back to where you came from. Mira looked at Nora with hate. You should have left. Nora did not answer. Mira stood up slowly, walked to the door, and stopped. She turned once more and said, This house will remember me. Then she opened the door and walked out. The air became light. Mama Eli started crying loudly. Eli walked to Nora and fell to his knees. I am sorry, he said. I am sorry. Nora could not speak. Old woman Dinta looked at Mama Eli. You nearly destroyed your own house. Mama Eli nodded in shame. That night, for the first time in many months, the house was quiet. No strange sounds, no fear, no cold. But the memory of what had happened remained. The morning after Mira left, the house felt like a place that had just survived a fire. Everything was still standing, but nothing felt the same. Nora woke up early and sat on her bed, listening. There were no strange sounds, no cold air, no fear pressing on her chest. For the first time in many months, she breathed freely. In the living room, Mama Eli sat on the floor, her eyes swollen from crying. Eli stood near the door, looking like a man who had been beaten by life itself. When he saw Nora, he could not hold it anymore. He walked to her and knelt. I failed you, he said. I watched you suffer. I doubted you. I let my mother and that thing destroy our home. Nora looked at him for a long moment. I didn't marry you to fight alone, she said quietly. Eli bowed his head. I know, and I am ashamed. Mama Eli stood up slowly and walked toward Nora. She did not shout, she did not insult. She knelt too. I was the one who brought evil into this house, she said. I hated you for no reason. I wanted to remove you. I nearly destroyed my own son. Her voice broke. Forgive me." Nora's heart was heavy. She remembered the insults, the small room, the hunger, the nights of tears. She remembered standing alone while they laughed. She was silent for a long time. Then she said, "You hurt me deeply, but I stayed because this is my home." Mama Eli cried harder. "I don't deserve your kindness," she said. Nora shook her head. "Kindness did not keep me here. Faith did." That same day, Mama Eli called some neighbors and elders. In front of them, she said, "This woman is my son's true wife. I wronged her. I brought shame to this house." People were shocked. Some nodded. Some whispered. Eli stood beside Nora and held her hand. From that day, things began to change. Not like magic, not all at once, but slowly. Mama Eli started treating Nora like a daughter. Sometimes she tried too hard, and it felt awkward, but she tried. Eli became different. He came home earlier. He listened. He asked questions. He stopped keeping secrets. One evening, he said, "I almost lost you." Nora answered, "You did, but I chose to stay." They sat quietly. Weeks passed. The house became peaceful again. Laughter returned. Neighbors began to visit. One afternoon, Nora went to the mango tree to see old woman Dinta. The old woman smiled when she saw her. "You stood," she said. Nora nodded. "By God's grace." Old woman Dinta said, "Some battles are not won by running." When Nora returned home, she found Mama Eli sweeping the compound. Eli was fixing a broken chair. The house felt like home again. That night, Nora lay in bed beside her husband. For the first time in a long while, she slept without fear. Somewhere far away, whatever Mira truly was gone. And in that house, the wife who was meant to be replaced remained. Not because she fought with anger, but because she endured. And in the end, love was the one that stayed.